The resignation letter trembled in Marina Collins' hands. She had folded it twice, then unfolded it, then folded it again, thin white paper already soft from sweat and tears. Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain Richard Walker could hear it from across the marble hall. 5 years. 5 years of early mornings, quiet hallways, warm coffee, waiting on the desk before meetings, calendars memorized better than her own birthdays. 5 years of treating the Walker estate in Chicago not as a job, but as a place she protected, and now she was about to walk away. "Sir, Mr. Walker." Her voice cracked before she even finished saying his name. Richard looked up from his phone, already sensing something was wrong. Marina had never spoken like that before. Never hesitant, never fragile. She was usually calm, precise, composed. The woman standing in front of him now was pale, thinner than he remembered. Her dark eyes rimmed red as if sleep had abandoned her weeks ago. "Yes, Marina?" he said gently. She extended the letter as if it weighed 100 pounds. "This is my resignation." The words echoed in the vast entryway. Richard didn't take the letter right away. He stared at her instead, searching her face for the explanation that wasn't coming. Marina had been with him since she arrived from Ohio at 20. She'd worked days and studied nights, cared for her younger sister, never complained, never asked for more than what was fair. "You're quitting?" he asked slowly. "Why?" She lowered her eyes to the polished floor. "I'm giving 2 weeks' notice. I'll make sure everything is organized before I leave." That wasn't an answer. "Marina," he said, stepping closer, "you're practically family here. If something's wrong, talk to me." Her shoulders stiffened. For a moment he thought she might break down right there. Instead, she took a step back, as if distance could protect both of them. "I can't," she whispered. "It's better this way." "Better for who?" Richard finally took the letter, unfolded it, scanned the neat professional wording. No emotion, no reason, just personal matters. When he looked up again, Marina was wiping away a tear she clearly hadn't meant to show. "You look sick," he said, concern overtaking surprise. "Have you seen a doctor? Is your sister okay?" The mention of her sister made Marina flinch. "I'm fine," she said too quickly. "Please accept the letter." He folded it and slid it into his jacket pocket. "I won't, at least not yet. Not until you tell me what's happening." Silence stretched between them. Then Marina shook her head, hard, like she was trying to erase a thought. "I need to finish my work," she said, and turned toward the kitchen before he could stop her. Richard stood there long after she disappeared down the hallway. That night, he didn't sleep. He paced the estate, memories replaying themselves without permission. Marina reminding him of his mother's birthday, Marina bringing chamomile tea during stressful negotiations, Marina quietly fixing things before he even realized they were broken. This wasn't a woman leaving for a better job. This was a woman running. The next morning confirmed it. Marina barely touched her breakfast. Her hands shook when her phone buzzed. When the house phone rang, she dropped a cup, porcelain shattering across the floor. "I'll clean it," she said instantly, dropping to her knees. "Stop," Richard said, crouching beside her. "You'll cut yourself." Their hands brushed as they reached for the same shard. Marina was ice cold. "You're burning up," he said, touching her forehead. She recoiled like she'd been shocked. "Please don't," she whispered. That was the moment Richard knew. This wasn't nerves. This was fear. Later that afternoon, he heard her crying. The sound came from the home library, a room Marina usually treated like a sanctuary. He approached quietly and saw her sitting in one of the leather chairs, face buried in her hands. A framed photo lay on the floor beside her, him and his wife Laura, smiling during a business trip. "Marina," he said softly. She jumped, scrambling to wipe her face. I didn't know you were home." "Enough," Richard said, sitting across from her. "You've never lied to me in 5 years. Why now?" Her composure finally collapsed. "If I tell you the truth," she said through trembling lips, "everything will get worse. For me, for you, for your family." "Worse how?" She stood abruptly. "I need to go home early." "I'll drive you." "No!" The word burst out of her before she could stop it. "I mean, no, thank you. I'll take the bus." She fled before he could ask another question. That night, Richard called Laura in Miami. "She quit today," he said. "She's terrified of something. Laura sighed on the other end of the line. Richard, you're overthinking it. Employees leave all the time. This isn't like her. Maybe she found a better opportunity, Laura replied coolly. Don't get emotionally involved. The line went dead, but the unease stayed. The next day, Richard worked from home. At 10:37 a.m., the landline rang. Walker Residence, Marina answered. Then her voice changed. No, she whispered. I already said no. Please don't call again. The click of the receiver sounded violent. Minutes later, Richard found her in the kitchen, crying silently on a stool. Who was that? He asked. No one, she lied. Marina, he said calmly. You said, I can't do this. That wasn't a wrong number. She closed her eyes as if in pain. Please, just let me go. If someone is threatening you, we can get help. No, she said, panic sharp in her voice. If you get involved, it will destroy everything. For who? She looked at him then, really looked, and whispered the words that made his stomach drop. For you. The room went still. What do you mean? He asked. Her voice broke completely. She says she'll tell your wife that you and I are having an affair. She says she has proof. Richard felt the air leave his lungs. That's absurd. She knows your schedule, Marina continued, tears streaming. Your travel dates. Things only someone close to you would know. She wants me gone. Today. Richard stared at her, understanding finally dawning like a slow, dangerous sunrise. Someone was trying to destroy both of them, and Marina had been carrying it alone. As the silence thickened between them, one question hovered unspoken. Who could possibly hate her enough, know him well enough, and be cruel enough to pull this off? And as Marina whispered, please don't make me say her name, the story took its first dark turn. Richard didn't speak for several seconds. The kitchen felt smaller than it had a moment ago. The air thick with words neither of them quite knew how to place back where they belonged. Marina sat frozen on the stool, hands clenched in her lap, as if she were bracing for a blow that still hadn't landed. She's lying, Richard said finally, his voice low but steady. There is no affair. There never has been. I know that, Marina whispered, but she doesn't need the truth. She just needs something that looks real. She lifted her eyes then, and the shame in them hurt him more than anger ever could. She has photos, innocent moments, you helping me with the broken cup. That night I stayed late organizing your documents. She says she can twist them, make anyone believe whatever story she wants. Richard leaned back against the counter, a cold realization creeping up his spine. In today's world, perception mattered more than truth. A single accusation, framed the right way, could destroy a career, a family, a life. How long has this been going on? He asked. 3 months, Marina said. At first it was just calls, then demands. First documents from your office. When I refused, she told me to plant things on your desk. I refused again. That's when she started threatening me. Why didn't you come to me? Marina swallowed hard. Because I was afraid the person behind this was someone you loved. And if I was wrong, if I accused the wrong person, I couldn't live with that. The weight of that choice settled heavily between them. A phone rang. Both of them flinched. The house phone, sharp and insistent. Marina's breath hitched. She looked at Richard like a child waiting for permission. Don't answer, he said quietly. The ringing stopped. Then it rang again. She'll keep calling, Marina whispered. Richard reached for her hand without thinking. This time she didn't pull away. Next time, he said, you answer, and you put it on speaker. Her eyes widened. That's dangerous. So is letting her control you. The line went dead before they could move. Richard exhaled slowly, mind racing. Marina, he said, I need to check something. Minutes later, they stood in his office, the security system glowing on the screen. Richard's fingers moved quickly as he pulled up access logs. Rows of timestamps filled the monitor. Someone had been logging into the camera system remotely, frequently, always in the mornings, always when he was busy and Marina was alone in the house. Only 2 people have this password, he said quietly. Marina already knew the answer, but hearing it still felt like a crack through her chest. You and your wife. Silence pressed in again, heavier this time. I don't want to believe it, Richard said, but facts don't care what we want. Marina stared at the screen. She never said her name, but the voice, It sounded older, controlled, and she knew things. Things only someone very close to you would know. Richard closed his eyes for a moment. Laura had been distant for months, traveling constantly, cold when he mentioned Marina, dismissive when he said he was worried. Fear shifted into something sharper, resolve. "I'm calling someone," he said. An hour later, Daniel Brooks sat at the desk, his laptop already open. He listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each detail. "This isn't drama," Daniel said when Richard finished. "This is blackmail, invasion of privacy, extortion. Whoever's doing this is committing crimes." "I need proof," Richard replied, "before I confront anyone." Daniel nodded. "Then we wait for the next call." The waiting was unbearable. When the phone finally rang, Marina's hands shook as she answered. "Walker Residence." "Marina," came the smooth female voice, calm and cruel. "Still there?" "Yes," Marina said, forcing steadiness into her tone. "I'm finishing my notice." "Notice?" The woman laughed softly. "No, dear. You leave today." "Why?" Marina asked, heart pounding. "Because your boss is asking questions, and that makes things messy." Richard clenched his fist behind her. "There are no secrets," Marina said, voice trembling but defiant. "Oh, really?" the woman replied. "That night you stayed late helping him. Cameras caught everything. A little editing, and it looks very intimate." Richard felt a flash of anger so sharp it made him dizzy. "What do you want?" Marina asked. "You gone. Today, or your sister's name becomes very interesting to the wrong people." The call ended. Marina collapsed onto the chair, shaking. "She threatened my sister." "That's enough," Daniel said grimly. We traced the call. Seconds later, numbers appeared on his screen. Daniel looked up slowly. "Miami. Marriott downtown." Richard's chest tightened. Laura was staying there. The room felt like it tilted. "She's in Miami," Marina whispered. "Yes," Richard said, voice hollow. "She is." That night they made a plan. Marina would pretend to comply. A fake agenda would be placed in the garden, exactly where the voice demanded. Cameras would be hidden, everything recorded. "If it's her," Marina said softly, "your marriage ended the moment she decided to destroy you," Richard replied. At 2 a.m, a shadow moved across the garden. A woman in dark clothes approached the bench, bent down and picked up the agenda. The camera caught her face clearly. Richard watched the screen, heart breaking and hardening at the same time. It was Laura. By morning, the truth sat between them like an open wound. When Laura returned home smiling, luggage in hand, she had no idea that everything she'd built on lies was about to collapse. And as Richard led her toward the office, toward the screen waiting to expose her, one question hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. Laura Walker walked into the house as if nothing had happened. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor, her coat draped over one arm, her expression relaxed in the way only someone who believed they were still in control could be. She leaned in and kissed Richard's cheek, the familiar scent of expensive perfume suddenly unbearable. "You look exhausted," she said lightly. "Rough week?" "Interesting week," Richard replied. Marina stood a few steps back, hands folded tightly in front of her. Laura barely glanced at her, only offering a thin, polite smile before turning away. "Oh," Laura added casually, "I heard Marina is leaving. That's a shame. She was useful." The word landed like a slap. "Yes," Richard said. "Very useful." He gestured toward the hallway. "Come with me. There's something I want to show you." Laura hesitated for half a second, then followed him into the office. Daniel Brooks was already there, seated quietly by the desk, his laptop open. The moment Laura saw him, something flickered in her eyes, not fear, calculation. "Who is this?" she asked. "A friend," Richard said. "Someone who helped me understand what's been happening in my own house." Laura crossed her arms. "I don't know what game you're playing, Richard, but I just got back from a 12-hour flight." "This won't take long." He nodded to Daniel. The first recording filled the room. Laura's voice came through the speakers, smooth and unmistakable. Calm, threatening, cruel. Marina's shoulders tensed as she listened, but she didn't look away. Richard watched his wife's face as the color drained from it, as denial gave way to panic. That could be anyone, Laura said weakly. Anyone can imitate a voice. Daniel clicked the mouse. The screen changed. Infrared footage, night vision. A woman in dark clothes stepping into the garden, bending down, picking up the agenda, looking straight into the camera. Laura. The silence afterward was suffocating. Laura sank slowly into the chair behind her, as if her legs had given up on pretending. When she finally spoke, her voice was no longer sharp. It was small, defensive. "I can explain." "Please do," Richard said, his voice eerily calm. "Explain why you blackmailed an innocent woman. Explain why you threatened her sister. Explain why you accessed my security system from another state." Tears filled Laura's eyes, but they were not tears of remorse. "She was taking my place," Laura said suddenly, her voice breaking. "You trusted her more than you trusted me. She knew your routines, your moods, your life. You listened to her. You smiled at her. I felt invisible in my own house." "So you tried to destroy her?" Richard said. "I just wanted her gone," Laura insisted. "At first I thought if I scared her, she'd leave quietly. But she wouldn't break. She wouldn't steal. She wouldn't lie. And that made it worse." Marina finally spoke, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I never wanted anything you had. I respected your marriage. I respected you." "I know," Laura snapped. "That's what made it unbearable." Richard closed his eyes. The woman he had married 8 years ago felt like a stranger. "Our marriage ended," he said quietly, "the moment you decided to hurt someone who trusted us." Laura looked at him, truly looked at him this time. "You're choosing her over me?" "I'm choosing decency," Richard replied. "I'm choosing truth." He turned to Marina. "You don't have to stay here. You never did. But you will not leave because of fear." Marina's eyes filled with tears she no longer tried to hide. Laura stood up slowly. "I'll pack my things." "You'll also seek professional help," Richard said, "and you will stay away from Marina and her family. If you don't, everything we recorded goes to the authorities." Laura nodded numbly and left the room. When the door closed, the house felt different, quieter, lighter, as if something poisonous had finally been removed. Marina sank into the chair, exhaustion washing over her. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for all of this." "No," Richard said. "I'm sorry it took me this long to see it." Weeks passed. The divorce moved forward quietly. Laura kept her distance. True to his word, Richard offered Marina a new position, one with authority and respect, not charity. She accepted, but only after setting clear boundaries. "I want to grow," she told him, "not depend." Richard smiled. "That's exactly why I trust you." Marina brought her sister Emily to Chicago. Laughter returned to the house. Warmth. Life. Then Michael Carter entered the picture. A literature professor. Thoughtful. Patient. He didn't try to impress Marina. He listened to her. Valued her. When he proposed, Richard stood beside her, not as an employer, but as family. Years passed gently this time. Marina studied, married, became a mother, became a leader. She and Richard built a business partnership grounded in ethics and loyalty. What began as protection turned into mutual respect. One evening, long after the pain had softened into memory, Marina stood in the same kitchen where she once held a resignation letter with shaking hands. "Do you ever think about that day?" she asked. Richard nodded. "Every time I see how far you've come." "If you hadn't stopped me," she said softly, "my life would have gone in a very different direction." "And if you hadn't trusted me," Richard replied, "I would have become someone I didn't recognize." They stood there in comfortable silence, the kind only family shares. Sometimes the moment that feels like the end is actually the beginning of everything that matters. As you sit with this ending, do you believe Marina made the right choice by trusting Richard when fear told her to run? And do you think Richard was brave enough to face the truth even when it cost him his marriage? How would you have handled Laura if you were in his place, with forgiveness or with justice? If this story moved you, comment 100 below, tell us which country you're watching from, and share this video with someone who believes that kindness can still change lives.